Imagine, if you will, you wanted to go to the movie theater to watch a fun movie. Maybe it's not even an R-rated movie. Maybe it's just a PG-13 movie. And I, some random guy, stopped you before you could enter the building and demanded to see your government-issued ID. Once you hand it over, I then proceed to scan it to be blogged in an undisclosed place for unknown reasons, and other than, well, think of the children. When you're very obviously an adult, you pay your own bills, you bought your own movie ticket. And only once I get all of your information are you allowed to enter the establishment and do whatever regular activities you want to do. Now, imagine that, but with literally everything you do in your daily life. Everything regular you do, go to the grocery store, whatever, you're required to go through that ID check and your ID be logged and your face be logged and all that. Sounds like a crazy dystopian mass surveillance tactic, right? Well, that's what the United States government is trying to do with the internet right now. The government's working on a bill called the Kids Online Safety Act, which is basically a giant Trojan horse veiled under the thin guise of protecting children online. Now, what would happen if a bill like this became reality? Well, let's look at the UK. They passed a similar bill, so let's see how that's going. A lot of porn sites and games are down for everyone. You need an official government ID or your face, your biometric data, in order to use grotesque and disgusting things on the internet, like Discord features and Twitter. I said video games. Video games are getting the ban hammer for, let me check my notes. Anything the government deems bad. Even Wikipedia, which is just free, public, online information, is being censored in the name of protecting children. From what I can see, from outside of the UK, I'm not inside the UK, but from what I can see is that the citizens don't want this, but the government's doing it anyway because it thinks it knows best. I love democracy. Oh, and there are talks of VPNs being completely banned because, surprise, surprise, they're skyrocketing in use in order to avoid these new rules. At a very surface level understanding, protecting kids on the internet sounds like a good thing, because there are a lot of bad things out there on the internet. However, it is not the government's place to enact mass surveillance of all internet activity by everyone ever, completely de-anonymize the internet, and get rid of all online privacy ever, all because some parents give their kids unrestricted access to the internet and then bitch and moan because their kids have unrestricted access to the internet. Regulating internet usage and protecting kids online falls on the parents, not the government. Even if the parents fail, which, unfortunately, that is the case sometimes, but that is not on the government to regulate everyone's internet activity ever because a few parents fail. And believe it or not, kids aren't the only ones on the internet. Many people, including myself, run their lives through the internet. And this would be a terrible invasion of privacy and a totally unprecedented level of censorship on the internet. They say it's about protecting the children when the children are such a small minority on the internet that it affects everyone else in such a negative way that there are literally no good sides to this. We see payment processor companies censoring the internet because they don't like certain things. For example, Steam games, itch.io stuff, all of that whole thing, which is a whole nother conversation. We see it happening there. We see government censoring things they don't like online, and most of the time it falls back to think of the children. I like to think that the common man thinks about the well-being of children far more than the government, which is literally protecting our in chief and all other elites that have a controlling interest in what happens in the government. Where's the list, Donald? So, we know for a fact that the government doesn't care about protecting kids. So, why introduce a bill aimed at protecting kids? Because it's not about protecting the children. It's about creating a gateway to allow the government to spy on whoever they want, censor whatever they want, and essentially establish ID checkpoints in online spaces that will follow you everywhere. Sounds awful, right? Well, that kind of exists in the UK and has a very real chance of existing here in the United States as well. If something like this is signed into law, there will be no stopping the spying and censorship because the free internet will be lost. This is such a disgusting invasion of privacy. It feels like a cartoon. But I guess that's the state of the world these days, especially with the current emperor-in-chief and his fascist allies. But that's a discussion for an entirely different day. Thank you for watching. Oppose government spying and surveillance as we see in the Kids Online Safety Act. Don't believe them when they say it's for the kids, because it's not. The government is probably the entity that cares the least about children, because at the end of the day, it's about spying on you and censoring you, the common man.